Hi, Paul. Okay, really well done on submitting this piece of work for some feedback. It's really the best thing to do to improve your writing. Let's have a look at your question. So you're going to visit the UK for an English and homestay programme. Write a letter to the host family. In your letter, introduce yourself, ask the family some questions, tell the family your scheduled date of arrival and time. Okay, so first of all, you've recognised that it is a letter, which is good, so you've used the right format here. And started with Dear Mr. Ben. Good, so starting in a formal way. I am the architect who works and resides in Qatar and was introduced to you by your cousin during a telephone conversation. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to you and your family for agreeing to accommodate me for a period of 2 weeks while I would be taking part in the English and Homestay programme in the UK. Okay, well done, good. What I would say here is where you've got I'm the architect. Architect is a lowercase letter, and I would include your name here as well. Okay, so to introduce yourself. Just because normally we would have our name before we have our job. So I am Stephen, the architect who works and resides in Qatar. Good. So I would change the sentence structure slightly. So I am Stephen, the architect who works and resides in Qatar, full stop. I was introduced to you by your cousin during a telephone conversation. Okay, so just to accommodate the extra piece of information in your name, to change that sentence structure slightly. Okay, good. Firstly, I would like to know the anticipated weather condition in the UK for the month of October. This would determine the type of clothing I would be travelling with, because I'm quite allergic to cold weather. Secondly, I would also like to have an idea of an average cost of medical care for an ulcer patient who is a non-permanent resident of the UK, because I am one. Okay, so what I would say here before you go into your questions is to mention in the letter that you have some questions. So stating something like, before I travel, I have a few questions about the UK. Okay, so firstly, normally it's better to use a direct question for ones like this, because it's somebody who's going to be letting you stay in their house for a while. I would make it slightly friendlier by using direct questions. So firstly, what are the weather conditions like in the UK in October? And then this would determine the type of clothing I would be travelling with, because now we can't say allergic to a type of weather. You would be allergic to a type of food, or allergic to a certain material, but not allergic to cold weather. So because maybe I am not used to cold weather, or I don't react well to cold weather. Secondly, I would also like to have an idea of an average cost of medical care for an ulcer patient who is a non-permanent resident of the UK, because I am one. Then, because this is quite a specific question, I think possibly stating something like, could you help me find this information, or could you help me with this, as a question. Okay, that way, although this is a formal letter, you're writing to someone who you have spoken to before, it seems from what you've said, but more importantly, you're going to be staying with them. So we want to have a friendly tone, not informal, but friendly and polite, so not too formal at the same time. Lastly, I want to inform you that my arrival date would be the 9th of October, and the anticipated time of landing on my ticket is 1 p.m. I would really be thankful if you could pick me up at the arrival terminal of the airport. Okay, good. So, lastly, I want to inform you that my arrival date will be the 9th of October, and the anticipated time of landing on my ticket is 1 p.m. Okay. Good. Okay, so in this last paragraph where we've got the date, we don't need to write of, so just 9th October, and the anticipated time of landing on my ticket is 1 p.m. I would be really thankful, so change the word order there, if you could pick me up at the arrival terminal, or even just to say, if you could pick me up from the airport. Pick me up from the airport. Okay. And then this sentence would be separate. So on a separate line, I look forward to meeting you and your lovely family. Yours sincerely, lowercase s, Stephen, no full stop. Okay, so just a couple of changes there, mainly to the tone of the letter, because if we think of formal letters, those are normally ones that we would be sending to a manager or a company that we don't know of. If you're staying at somebody's house and you're introducing yourself to them, you must be formal and polite, but also to show a friendly tone as well, so not too formal. So doing things like, I have a few questions, for example, and using those questions in a direct fashion as well. So I would like to know what the weather is like in the UK for the month of October, ? Okay, so instead of stating it as a statement, using a question instead. Okay, but yes, a good piece of writing there. Yeah, well done. Just a few changes to language, for example, where we've got of, a couple of prepositions, etc. But otherwise, very well done. Good, you've addressed the question really well there. Good work.